Welcome back, Bakatachi, to another 10 Reasons to Watch. This time we're keeping our streak of Isekais going by talking about Cautious Hero, or, to give its full name, The Hero Is Overpowered but Overly Cautious. If you have an anime you want us to do a video on, be sure to leave a comment to us below. Now, let's get to the video. The points given are just our opinion. This video also contains minor spoilers for the anime. You have been warned.
Number 1. The setup. Cautious Hero is an Isekai with a slight twist from the ones we've covered previously. Unlike Grimgar and Overlord, where someone is stuck in another world without us knowing fully why, in Cautious Hero we can understand from the beginning. We follow a goddess in the divine realm who is tasked with summoning someone to save a world from the demon lord. The goddess, named Ristarte, the goddess of healing, or Rista for short, is seen with a pile of stat sheets which look something similar to a D&D game or your typical RPG game, which she uses to pick her summon. The world she is tasked with saving is called Giabrande, and it is an S-class world, meaning it's extremely dangerous. Given that Rista is only a novice goddess, it's going to be tough for her to coach a summon to save the S-class world.
Number 2. General Vibe. If you have seen our other videos, then I'm sure you know that the feel, atmosphere, or vibe of an anime is extremely important to us, and this show certainly has a unique vibe to it. It is clear from the very first episode as it cuts from a serious scene of our composed goddess to moments later when she's freaking out. The show loves doing this to us throughout the whole season. We go from serious moments of life and death to hilarious comedic moments of our MCs reacting in a completely unexpected way. While you may think this would be jarring to watch, they actually handle it really well, making it more a use of juxtaposition that emphasizes the difference between the serious and lighthearted moments. This gives the show a feeling that while ridiculous actions are being taken, the show is in on the joke with us. And that is a hard vibe to pull off without it seeming forced. The only other shows we can think of that have pulled this off are Konosuba and One Punch Man, and that is not something we say lightly.
Number 3. Seiya's overly cautious attitude. Seiya, our MC and chosen hero, who as you may have guessed, overly cautious, leaves Rista with anxiety and panic in most scenes. Whether it's taken on a single slime or just the way he talks to the other gods, Seiya is always overly cautious. Rista might hate this, but we love it. When we first meet him, he refuses to even go into this world that needs their help, and instead says he's going to go and train. Nearly a month later, he says he's ready, and Rista takes him to gear up, which she regrets when he buys 3 sets of armor due to needing 1 to wear, 1 backup, and of course a 3rd in case he loses the backup, all out of Rista's pocket. Afterwards, they head to a single slime, which Seiya uses an insane amount of abilities and overkills it to an extreme. As we move through the season, we see other hilarious examples of this overly cautious trait, such as his mana being around 13k out of his 15k pool, so he refuses to fight anymore as he needs to recover. He also does not trust anyone except Rista to make his food in case it's poisoned, and to give him some credit, most of the time he's right.
Number 4. Seiya's abilities. As you would expect from a show with overpowered in its name, Seiya has a wide range of extremely powerful abilities. For starters, his stats are several times higher than average for every category, and thanks to his workouts, they quickly get even higher. He also trains for combat both with and without his weapon, not to mention having dozens of extremely powerful spells and skills at his disposal. He can barely go an episode without causing an explosion that would rate somewhere in the middle of the Richter scale for any bystanders. At one point, he even pulls a Madara by summoning a meteor to wipe out an entire army. On top of that, he has an insane crafting skill that lets him quickly produce extremely powerful weapons by combining other items. Oh, and did I forget to mention he can summon a magic bow and auto-targeting attacks? This man is a tank, ranger, mage, and crafter all rolled into one. And instead of being a jack of all trades but master of none, he just says screw it, and masters them all anyway.
Number 5. Enemies. The main enemy of Cautious Hero is the Demon Lord, who along with these 4 generals known as the Demon Kings, is attempting to take over Giabrande. Now they're your typical enemies, but to our Seiya there are more unique enemies. Food, beer, slimes, parties, spies, brain monsters? The list of threats goes on in our Seiya's head. We also see a few demons from further down the hierarchy, one of the more unique ones being a human-sized fly named Beelzebub, who commands a plague of flies to do his bidding. Despite not being one of the Demon Lord's generals, Beelzebub is still one of our favourite enemies, due to his unique attack where he would command his flies to grab people and fly extremely high, and then simply drop them. He calls this reverse fireworks, and well, we'll leave the rest to your imagination.
Number 6. Other characters. While Seiya gets most of the spotlight for being super powerful and the hero and literally being who the show is named after, It is important to not forget the other characters. Rista the goddess is obviously hard to forget about, as she probably gets even more screen time than Seiya. But let's also not forget that the reason Seiya can do most of what he does is because he has the help of a goddess. While it is easy to brush off the fact that she can let Seiya go back and forth between this world and the worlds of gods simply because she's a goddess, that does not mean her ability to do so is any less critical than his ability to train. And heck, even when he crafts an amazing item, it is because he has some of her hair to add to the materials. There are also two other members of the party, Mash and Alulu. While neither of them are anywhere near as strong as Seiya, they are both dragonkin, which makes them more powerful than the average human. Which is helpful as they mostly just carry stuff around for Seiya, and he is very protective of his pack meals. But still, this does not stop them from training hard. With Mash training with the god of swords to improve his combat, a different god to improve his dragon form, and with the Lulu learning support magic, they are both training hard so they can support Seiya if needed.
Number 7. References. A lot of animes like to make references and nods to other well-known media, and it's always fun as a fan to spot these Easter eggs, and Cautious Hero is no different. The summoning of Seiya in the beginning is exactly the same as the arrival of the Terminator in Terminator 2. There's a scene where Seiya removes a lot of weighted rings, which is an obvious nod to Rock Lee's scene in Naruto. And if you watched our Overlord video, you may have noticed a familiar voice, as the side character named Lagos shares the voice of Ainzal Gaon. Are there any other references that we've not noticed? Let us know in the comments.
Number 8. Misunderstanding. While this whole video has a massive spoiler warning on it, for these next two, we're gonna have to double down on that. So if you don't want that, be sure to go watch the show first and then come back here, or skip to number 10. Now, a major character trait of our main man Seiya is how coldly he treats the other members of his party, as he is downright rude and demeaning to them several times throughout the series. While this comes off as him just not caring for them and seeing them as possible enemies, it actually has a lot to do with wanting to keep them safe. He cares for them, and the safest thing he can do for them is to keep them at a safe distance. He saves Alulu from being sacrificed, even though it means he will not be able to get a weapon strong enough to kill the Demon Lord. He even goes off to fight the Demon Lord alone, even though he knows he likely isn't strong enough to defeat it. Through the show, we are led to believe he does not care for anything but defeating the Demon Lord, while keeping himself as safe as possible. But in the end, we see that he truly cares for everyone and is willing to go into battle alone to keep them safe. The reason for this is because in a flashback, we see that in a previous life, he lost everyone in his party, including Rista and their unborn child.
Number 9. Episode 12. After the emotional rollercoaster of finding out Seiya and Rista are starbound lovers with a lost child, you must be wondering what happened next. Well, episode 12 jumps on that rollercoaster and sends it into hyperdrive. Seiya uses Gate of Valhalla to defeat the Demon Lord, sacrificing himself in the process, to save this world and his comrades. But it's not enough. Rista uses her godly powers to save Seiya, allowing him to use the gate again. As he begins to crack and disintegrate, Rista tries to save him again, but fails, and is punished for overstepping her given power. Punishment given to her is that she must go and save her SS rank world, which is an even more dangerous than Giabrande. She also won't have access to her healing power, but there is light at the end of this story, as she is again allowed to pick her summon, and I'm sure we can all guess who she's thinking of picking.
Number 10. Season 2. Cautious Hero leaves the door open for a possible Season 2 in the future. There have been no confirmation of this as of yet, but we are still holding out hope. While the show did air in the far gone past of 2019, it is not unheard of a show going a decade before getting a sequel. And with how popular the show was, at least here in the West, we think it has a good shot. A second season would also mix things up, as due to her actions in the final, Rista's next world is an SS rank world that has already fallen to a Demon Lord, and she is not allowed to use her healing powers. So, it'll be interesting to see how this will present new challenges to our goddess and a likely newly summoned Seiya.
Summary. Cautious Hero, in our opinion, shows what would happen if you really ended up in an Isekai. Would you not also be overly cautious and try to level up as much as possible before doing anything, given that your life is on the line? It's a light-hearted and fun anime, with a huge emotional twist at the end that really tied everything together. And at only 12 episodes long, we say drop your caution and just give it a try. We've been Two Baka Talks, thanks for watching and catch you next time. Genki!
Literally being who the name is showed after? Really? Who the name is showed after? This is like my 5th take at this line, guys.